Hello and welcome. In this video, I will explain what statements are in computer programming. What is a statement? In computer language, statement basically is a group of words, numbers, operators that performs a specific task. Now, this group of words could also include things like comments. Comments are basically a way of explaining various parts of your computer code. So a statement is a combination of words, numbers, operators, and the various components that the programming language needs to create a program. So the various components of a statement can include values. Values are like the data that the computer program needs to function. For example, a value could be a number, it could be a text, which in programming terms is referred to as a string. It can also be expression. It could also be operators like a plus operator, minus operator. Those are known as operators. Could be a keyword like var, could be comments. So these are various components that you can have in a statement. When the computer program runs, it looks at the statements in the code and it runs or executes from top to bottom, left to right, one by one. Just the way you hopefully read the book from top to bottom, computer programming is executed or runs the computer programs from top to bottom and from left to right. So usually the order is executed in the same order in which the statement is written. In computer programming, to run a program means to execute a program. A statement is just like a sentence in English language, and just like in sentences, you can have different components that make up the sentence. A typical computer program will consist of multiple statements. I have opened up a blank web page, and the web page is called about : blank. So if you type this into your web browser and just press enter, it will give you a blank page. So what we're going to do is going to access the developer tool console. So to do that, if you just right click on inspect and click on console, and that will give you the console area. So in this area here, we can play around and experiment with some JavaScript code. So I'm going to write a very simple JavaScript statement. So I'm going to say A equals to B times 7. This is a complete statement. Even though it's simple, it's a complete statement. Just like in the English language, you can end your statement with a full stop. In some programming languages, they have different punctuations depending on the language. In JavaScript, you typically end your statement with a semicolon. So this is a typical valid statement in JavaScript. Let me quickly run through the statement with you. The characters A and B are called variables. Variables are basically like simple boxes that you can use to store any of your stuff in. In computer programming, you can use variables to store data. Okay. In programs, variables are used to hold values. A value could be a number like 7, and the values are things or data that the program will use. So you can think of variables as a symbolic placeholders for the values that they contain. Now, this number 7 here is basically a value in itself, and is called a literal value. This is because it stands alone without being stored in a variable. The equals to and this asterisk here, both characters are called operators. They are used to perform actions with the values and variables, such as an assignment and mathematical multiplication. This equals to is known as an assignment operator, and this asterisk is known as a multiplication operator. So basically what this is doing here is saying that A is equals to the value of B times 7. All right, so once you get the value of B, you times it by 7 and store it back in A. That's basically what that statement is saying. There are different types of operators. This is just one that I have illustrated with. Now, most statements in JavaScript end or are concluded with a semicolon at the end. This is specific to JavaScript. Other languages have different syntax requirement. So this statement A equals B times 7 basically tells the computer to get the current value that is stored in the variable B, multiply that value by 7, then store the result back into the variable we call A. That's what this statement is saying. So programs are just a collection of many statements which together describe all the steps that it takes to perform a computer program. So you may have a basic program, for example, that adds numbers together. So the various steps that you have to specify for the computer to follow, they are collectively referred to as statements.